Let's talk now to Samia Afzal, who grew up during the race riots of 2001 in Bradford. She's now engagement manager at the Muslim Council of Britain. And Rupa is here, Labour MP for Ealing, and this week she received an Islamophobic Punish a Muslim letter, which we discussed on the programme on Monday. Welcome both of you. I would like to get your reaction to some of the things that have been suggested in this consultation green paper from the Community Secretary. The first one is spending money to make sure everybody learns the English language. Louise Casey said within 5 years. How do you react to that?
Of course, everyone learning the English language and being able to communicate is a welcome proposal. I think we just need to find out some more information about how that's going to impact communities, what kind of funding is going to go into it, where it's going to come from, and those kinds of issues.
How would you react to that?
I mean, obviously, I agree that the English language is a good thing, but I mean, this government has cut funding for the English as a foreign language courses in colleges, and I've got a college in my constituency. They came to Parliament on a protest about that. So, I mean, they need to match rhetoric with actual action. So at the moment, it's just a consultation, you know, another consultation, another green paper. Often we know what the problem is in these cases, but I fear people have consultation fatigue often. Right,
rather than taking action. What would you say the main barriers are to people being integrated?
Well, I grew up in Bradford. I grew up in one of the most deprived areas in Bradford, if not the UK. You know, we recently held consultations there. We've spoken to people. When we talk about barriers to integration, it's much greater than just you know, some of the things that have been kind of sensationalised and talked about on
But tell me what the barriers to integration are. I mean, did you feel there were barriers to integrating?
Yeah, in terms of poverty, in terms of being, you know, being able to access education that's at a level that that is conducive to you being able to, you know, to contribute to society. I think there's, you know, where you live is a huge indicator of how well you'll do in your life as well. So I think that there are lots of barriers that are kind of structural. I think that those are the kinds of things that we need to be looking at if the government is serious about integration.
Right. Okay. Do you think it's all right that people want to live with people who are like them?
I mean, there is a phrase, birds of a feather flock together. I represent a very multicultural seat. Ealing Central and Acton, Victoria. There are 3 Ealing seats.
Sorry, what did I say?
But I think you just said Ealing. You've upgraded me to the whole borough. There's 360,000 people in the borough. I represent 75,000. We've got a very old established Polish community. I have 2 synagogues, 2 mosques, and we all rub along together very well. So, I mean, it's that balance between keeping distinctiveness but also getting along together. And integration is a 2-way process. I mean, the fact that we have fish and chips as our national dish, that actually came from the Middle East. I think that sort of form of tea is our national drink. It comes from China or India or somewhere, but not, you know, there's no tea hills in Ealing and Acton. So our country is an amalgam of all these places, and it's all the richer for it.
Yeah, I think not all segregation is self-selecting as well. It really depends on, you know, for example, in my case, where my grandparents settled, where they came, where they were able to find work, you know, in city areas where they were able to find affordable housing. So a lot of that, you know, when you grow up, you go to schools in your catchment area. A lot of it isn't due to choices that you've made yourself, but choices that have been made for you. So I think that, you know, these are the kinds of things that we need to, if we want to practically look at how to support integration, those are the kinds of things that we would need to look at, you know, celebrating the diversity of British Muslims, you know, looking at how faith communities integrate. You know, only last month, you know, 200 mosques around the UK opened their doors wide, you know, for people beyond any barriers, beyond any kinds of you know, differences in identity. And I think that these kinds of things are constantly happening, you know, from where I'm from as well. So I think it is much broader than what's being discussed.
I would like to ask you about the letter that you received, and other politicians, other councillors received this Punish a Muslim letter. Did you open it, or was it a member of your staff?
I mean, I think I spoke to the police actually this morning, and it's being treated as a hate crime, and it's the counter-terror operation that are dealing with it, because it was received at my parliamentary office. So stuff is meant to be screened that comes in there. I was actually in my committee, but it was my staff who opened it. One particular staffer opened what looked like a normal letter, and suddenly there's liquid oozing out of it. And so he's actually an ex-special constable, so he called the police immediately. They came very quickly.
So along with the letter, which we talked about on the programme earlier this week, you know, you get a number of points if you do this to a Muslim person, etc. Some kind of fluid emerged from it.
Yeah, they called it what did they call that substance? a noxious, low-level noxious irritant.
Right.
So, I mean, that is being investigated at the moment.
By counter-terrorism officers?
Yeah. Because, I mean, on the one hand, MPs like myself are used to getting rubbish. Last time I was on your programme was to talk about this kind of thing. But I think these things should be treated seriously at the same time, because you don't know, it could be a seriously noxious one. I mean, that particular person who opened it, I think what happened then, the office was sealed off. The people who were in there with him were quarantined. There were people in boiler suits sort of hovering around. They had to isolate him and take him to hospital to check him out. It proved to be not anything serious, but it was sort of a low-level irritant, I think they called it.
And the letter itself, how do you react to that?
I mean, it was that same letter that has been widely publicised. It was doing the rounds, but I think Muslim MPs are being targeted in getting it. So there's 4 instances I know of. There may be more people opening them today now. So, I mean, I'd say people should be vigilant. But obviously it's a despicable and hateful letter. I mean, just the content of it is appalling. And, you know, we're in a climate now where maybe post-referendum we did see a spike in hate crime, didn't we? And maybe there's been this sort of climate where people feel a bit more emboldened to do such things.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming on the programme. Thank you.